Hi guys, welcome back to Trademanza's weekly series, the Stock Market Recap. In this video, we bring to you all the interesting events of the stock market from the last week, and we also tell you what our views are on Nifty and where Nifty could be headed for the next week. Before we get started with this video, do subscribe to our channel, switch on notifications and like our video, and also download our app Trademanza to try out our fun games and quizzes. Now, let's get started with this week's recap. As we discussed in last week's videos, we said that 16,900 and 17,000 levels could be possible resistance. However, the market has reversed from 16,800 itself, which makes sense considering that there is bearish news all around. If you look at the chart now, the support level of 16,400 was also broken, and the support level of 16,200 also looks like it's going to break. Once the market breaks these levels, there's not going to be a floor for a while. Below 16,200, we see Nifty going to 15,800 at least, and then maybe Nifty will consolidate in the 15,800 to 16,000 space for a while before any sort of uptrend starts again. If we switch to a time frame with some moving average, there's not really much we can take from here because all the candles have been closing below the moving average. However, the RSI does tell us one thing. If you look at the RSI, we can see that every time the RSI has been making lower highs, indicating that there is a lot of bearishness in this market. And if we switch to an hourly time frame, we can see a very clear cut downtrend. Every time the candle goes close to the moving average, it takes resistance over there and it reverses from there, which is clearly visible in Friday's candle as well. If we take a look at Nifty option chain, we can see that the number of calls being sold at the 16,400 levels are almost twice that of the number of puts sold, indicating that there are a lot of resistance at this level. The interesting level to watch out for will be 16,200 and 16,300 because in this region the number of call sellers and the put sellers are very close to each other. This means this is going to be a make or break region. If we take a look at 16,000, obviously there's lots of put sellers. However, if the market is supposed to fall below 16,000, there's going to be heavy liquidation as all of them will be forced to close their positions. Moving on to some stock specific news. Apart from the bearish trend, which has been the reason for all these stocks falling, auto stocks have been hit harder than others because they have reported their sales numbers and the numbers are not great. Hero MotoCorp shares have declined almost 15% in the last 1 week after a 29% drop in their February sales. The two-wheeler market leader Hero MotoCorp had on Tuesday reported a 29% decline in the total sales at 358,000 units. The two-wheeler market leader, the company had dispatched 5,05,467 units in the same month of 2021, which shows that there is also a 30% decrease in the domestic sales as well. It's not just the two-wheeler market that is hit, the other auto parts are suffering as well. Maruti, Suzuki and Hyundai sales also declined in February. Maruti's domestic sales slipped by 8.46% to 1,40,000 units in Feb 2022 as the 1,53,000 units. Hyundai Motors too witnessed a fall in its total sales in February 2022. While most stocks have been tanking in this bearish market, there are some stocks which have been holding their own, which at the current time itself can be a good achievement. Adani Ports has achieved a 14% growth in the handled cargo volume in February 2022. During the month of Feb 2022, the portfolio handled cargo volume of 24.15 million tons, registering a growth of 14% on a year basis. During the 11 months of full year 2022, the portfolio of ports handled total cargo volume of 283 million tons, registering a growth of 28% on an annual basis. This shows that the company is poised for great growth and it would be a good time to buy this stock as well, as it is at good levels because of the current correction in the market. Moving on to some macroeconomic news, India's PMI manufacturing rises to 54.9 in February. This shows that there is a revival in demand as COVID 19 cases in the third wave dropped sharply in February after peaking in Jan. India's manufacturing activity recovered in February after deaccelerating to a 4 month low in the previous month as output and new orders expanded at a stronger pace according to a private survey. The IHS Market India Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, which is also known as the PMI, rose to 54.9 points in February from 54 points in January as Indian manufacturers raised their buying activity. February reported growth for the eighth straight month, with the PMI number remaining above its long run average of 53.6. This shows that there is some sort of recovery in the Indian economy and not everything is as bad as it's looking right now. Moving on to some global news. Oil prices have surged to multi-year highs as Russian supply shortfall looms. Crude prices posted their largest weekly gains since the middle of 2020. Oil surged on Friday, ending the week at multi-year highs as Russia's invasion of Ukraine intensified and oil buyers shunned barrels from the world's second largest exporter of crude. What's going to happen is that since Russia is the second largest exporter of crude, but people are now trying to avoid Russian oil, there is going to be a shortage of oil, which is what's pushing the price up. This is actually bad for most companies listed on the stock market because oil is a manufacturing product for all of them, and this is going to impact their margins. If we take a look at stocks like Asian Paints or Pidilite or even lots of chemical companies, they have also been hit very hard in this fall because this is going to lead to increased raw material price for them. Now, moving on to the most important news of the week, which is the Russia Ukraine conflict. Russia continued its advance into Ukraine over the weekend with reports of fighting on the streets and forces encircling Kiev. President Vladimir Putin on Sunday put his country's deterrence forces, which include nuclear capabilities, on high alert in response to international backlash to Russia's invasion. Let's talk about 10 things of what we know. Russia has announced a ceasefire in the cities of Volnovakha and the strategic port of Mariupol, which have been under heavy attack. There has not yet been any confirmation of the ceasefire from Ukrainian forces, and both cities have been under heavy bombardment. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky said NATO has given the green light for further bombing of Ukraine by ruling out a no fly zone. NATO warned on Friday that imposing a no fly zone could provoke full fledged war in Europe with a nuclear armed Russia, and this is not something it wants. Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, the largest of its kind in Europe, was seized by Russian forces on Friday after an attack that started a fire close to one of its six reactors. No release of radiation was reported, but Ukrainian officials said that workers had not been able to check all the safety infrastructure in the wake of the attack. If something is to happen to this power plant, it is going to be horrible for Europe. So, guys, that's it for this eventful week. Stay tuned for more.